What's going on, guys? I'm coming at you today with a recap of the Minnesota Vikings and the Indianapolis Colts matchup of Week 2 in the 2012 NFL season. I just got done watching this game. It's a couple hours after the game now, so I'll post this probably on Monday. But I watched the game, obviously, and the Vikings did not come away victorious in this one. The Colts won this one 23-20 in Andrew Luck's first start at home at Lucas Oil Stadium. And so I just wanted to recap the game quickly, and so to start it off, basically, the Vikings did not play the way that I thought they would for majority of this game. I thought they started off pretty good where they got 2 field goals early with rookie kicker Blair Walsh, who had a great week 1, and so they had 6 points on the board, but they weren't getting touchdowns, and their offense was really slowed down until the fourth quarter of play. And Andrew Luck looked really good in this game. He made a lot of very good throws. They make very many mistakes. He had a couple of plays that were tipped, but he looked far different from his week 1 performance against the Chicago Bears, and I was really disappointed in the way the Vikings got after Andrew Luck. They got after him on occasion, but for the most part, he had very clean pockets to throw from, but when he was flushed out from one side, he was able to use his athleticism and his speed to scramble out of the pocket and at least pick up a few yards. And in one case, in the second half, in the third quarter, he ran out of bounds on like a 3rd and 16 play, and Jared Allen hit him. He fell down, and the Vikings got flagged for a late hit out of bounds. But I thought Luck played very good throughout the entire course of the game, and it started off in the first quarter when they had their first drive, and he went 80 yards down the field in 13 plays, largely in part due to Donnie Avery getting a bunch of catches in that first drive, and they capped it off with a Dwayne Allen 3-yard touchdown pass. And then the Vikings got 2 field goals in the first 2 quarters, and they really established Percy Harvin early. He was getting a lot of passes thrown his way and getting yards after the catch, a lot like he did against Jacksonville. But I think the Colts stepped up and did a pretty good job overall against the Vikings offense and limiting how effective the Vikings playmakers were. Once again, I actually didn't cover this yet, but Adrian Peterson, he only had 16 carries for 60 yards, and his longest run on the day was 6 yards. And if you hold Adrian Peterson, I don't care how many carries he gets, if he only gets a 6-yard gain, that's as long as he gets, you did a good job of stopping him, and they did phenomenal. I think the big standout on that Colts front line was Corey Redding, who was making a lot of very good plays. He got a couple of swats in there and batted down a couple of balls. And I haven't rewatched the game yet, but the Vikings ran a lot of power running this game, and it just wasn't working. I would have liked them to see it go outside a little bit more. They did quite a bit with Percy Harvin when they were giving him the ball. But even Toby Gerhart, the Vikings' power runner, only had 5 carries for 15 yards, and I think the Colts' front 7 really stepped up to stop this Vikings team and make them a lot more one-dimensional. And overall, I was very disappointed by the way the Vikings played on offense. I thought the offensive line was manhandled, and Christian Ponder was flushed out of the pocket too many times. And what I noticed, especially compared to previous games with Ponder, was that when he was flushed out of the pocket in this game, he wasn't making plays downfield. He had to run himself or take a hit, which he did many times. And once again, that was Corey Redding in the front line of the Indianapolis Colts flushing him out of the pocket, and I thought the Vikings would do a lot better job against the Colts defense in this game. They were missing Pat Anger, one of their starting linebackers, who had a big year last year, and they also were without Dwight Freeney, but Robert Mathis still beat Matt Khalil on the play and sacked Christian Ponder. And other than Percy Harvin and the carries they gave to Adrian Peterson, the Vikings did not have much of an offense. I would have liked to see a lot more of the short passing game incorporated. It's what the Vikings do focus on a lot, but I didn't think they were going to their tight ends enough. I would have liked to see some more slants to Michael Jenkins. He's not going to beat anybody down the field, so I would like to see him use his physicality and his size to run a lot more curls and slants. And I'm not sure how much this offense is going to be different with the addition of Jerome Simpson come week 4, but I think right now it's a very one-dimensional offense where they're going to either focus on one of their key players. It's either been Percy Harvin or Adrian Peterson. It would have been nice to have really opened up the offense a little bit more and incorporate both of those guys and have some success, which is what I really assumed they would do. I thought for one, Adrian Peterson would have a 100-yard plus rushing day. He would have a couple touchdowns if they got into the red zone, and I was hoping that him and Percy Harvin could be effective together, because what I've noticed a lot of is it's usually one of those guys and that plays well and the other one doesn't really do a whole lot. And I'm really hoping this passing offense can come together a little bit better, because yeah, they're throwing a lot of those smoke routes in the direction of Percy Harvin, and Ponder has made some nice throws over the course of the first 2 games. But I want to see a more consistent passing approach from the Vikings that's going to be a lot more effective in games, because you're not always going to be able to rely on bubble screens unless teams don't game plan around Percy Harvin. He also cramped up a little bit in this game, no major issues when he was out of the game. And I wonder if John Carlson gets some more snaps, and the Vikings can run the twin tight end offense that they've wanted to run this whole time, where they have Kyle Rudolph and John Carlson on the field at the same time, if this passing offense will be a little bit more impressive, because so far it hasn't been a consistent passing attack that the Vikings have been able to score points on. It's been more of Percy Harvin and his big plays, Adrian Peterson in the first game, and then towards the end of the game today, it was the short fields and a little bit of luck towards the end for the Vikings. And in the second half, the Vikings did not get off to a very good start at all. The flags started flying in like crazy. They had a roughing the kicker penalty on the punt that the Colts had. That extended the drive, and then Andrew Luck also had the late hit out of bounds by Jared Allen, so that extended the drive once more, and that led to points for the Colts as they capped that drive off with an Adam Vinatieri field goal. And then no points were scored later until the fourth quarter because the Colts really didn't do too much on offense after that. They tried to run the ball on the Vikings, and I knew that wouldn't work this game. I didn't have much faith in Vic Ballard or Donald Brown to do a whole lot against this Vikings front four, and Aaron Henderson did a great job in rush defense today, and they just didn't really try to do too much to the Vikings. I think they could have put them out of this game had they passed the ball a little bit more in the fourth quarter and towards the end of the third quarter, but they played it pretty slow. They gave the Vikings some chances, and the Vikings, I thought they were kind of going to be out of it pretty soon because there was only 10 minutes to go in the first or the last quarter, and they finally got the ball back, and they went down the field. They had to go for it on fourth down, and they got a lucky tip in midair to go to Stephen Burton in the end zone for a 7-yard touchdown pass, and I'm like, all right, I'll take it because it's a touchdown. And then the Colts pretty much kept up the same approach. I mean, Luck threw the ball on third down. It was an inaccurate pass, and the Vikings got the football, went down the field, and Christian Ponder hit Kyle Rudolph with a 6-yard touchdown pass. But then Andrew Luck, the #1 pick in the draft, led the Colts down the field with some nice throwing. He got them close enough so Adam Vinatieri could boot through the game-winning 53-yard field goal, and Andrew Luck helped get the Colts their first win on the season. Head coach Chuck Pagano's first career win as a head coach, and also Luck's first win at home in Indianapolis. So I thought the Colts played a very good game overall. They almost let the Vikings take away from them. I thought they would have done more in the third and fourth quarter, put the Vikings out of it, but they played very conservatively, and that allowed the Vikings to have a shot towards the end in their defense. That cover two, I'm not a big fan of the zone coverage, and that I've seen that same thing happen so many times. The Vikings give those plays late in games. A lot of passes in the middle of the field that are very easy for the quarterback to hook up with the receiver, and it's led to the Vikings losing a lot of games over the past few seasons especially. So I want to see some improvement. One of the things the coaches always talk about is they haven't had the players to be as versatile on defense as they wanted to, and I don't think that's as much of an excuse anymore despite the poor safety play or the inconsistent safety play. I mean, there's not a whole lot of a difference between a 60-yard touchdown pass that you give up because some guy blew his coverage compared to the other team going down the field in 4 plays to get those 60 yards, and they get it very easily because basically the Vikings defense in that situation is relying on the opposing quarterback to make a mistake and make an inaccurate pass, or their front four can get pressure, which they weren't doing a whole lot of this game. When they were, Andrew Luck was very good in the pocket and rolling out as well, and he made a lot of very accurate passes, not too much inaccuracy from Andrew Luck. But this is the second game in a row this season. I am going to keep track how many interceptions they get this year, but they haven't really had too many opportunities as well. They have had some missed opportunities. They've had some tip passes that could have become interceptions, but the Vikings they don't have that many opportunities to get interceptions. They're not always in position to make a play, and that's what bothers me about this scheme, because I have no confidence in it, because I've seen this exact same thing with Andrew Luck, what he did today to the Vikings so many times before, especially last year, the first 3 games of the season where they blew double-digit leads at halftime. So hopefully the Vikings can regroup a little bit better on defense, but their offense also wasn't all that impressive. Hopefully soon with the addition of Jerome Simpson it improves, and with the health getting better for John Carlson and him getting more acquainted with this offense, where he missed a lot of training camp and all of the preseason. I haven't seen a whole lot of him, and I just watched Jeremy Curley muff a punt on the Pittsburgh game, but I want to see the Vikings improve in a lot of areas. They really beat themselves up in this game, but the Vikings did not beat the Vikings in this game. The Indianapolis Colts beat the Vikings. They deserve this win. If the Vikings pulled this off, they really did not deserve to win this game, but I would have been happy for it. I would have taken the victory, obviously. But next up, the Minnesota Vikings have the San Francisco 49ers, and that's going to be a very tough task for Christian Ponder and this Vikings team that clearly is not as complete as the 49ers and has a lot to come. At least they're going to be at home, though. They're going to be at the Metrodome. That's like the Vikings' only shot to play a good team at home, at least in the Metrodome, where they have the crowd behind them. They always play better at the Dome. But next up for the Colts is against Blaine Gabbert and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Looking forward to that matchup. And my prediction this game, by the way, was wrong. I predicted a Vikings victory because I thought they could overcome the injuries of the Colts and have a balanced offense and have a very complete game. but that was not the case. The Vikings did not win 30-20 like I predicted. They lost 23-20, and they got some lucky points late. But anyways, guys, that is my recap of the Minnesota Vikings versus the Indianapolis Colts. It was an enjoyable game to watch. I got very excited towards the end, but Adam Vinatieri daggered my hopes of the Vikings getting a 2-0 start to their season with a 53-yard field goal. And so anyways, guys, leave your thoughts on this game and the Vikings as a team or the Colts as a team. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.